Afternoon, everyone. Hope you're all well. Apologies to anyone if you turned up at 11 a.m. this morning. I think we got a little confused on the time that I was meant to start, but I was teaching lots of kids at 11 a.m. and they've just left, so I'm ready to chill with a bit of crochet. I'm also on holiday myself tomorrow and I can't wait to pack some crochet. So I hope you're enjoying doing this project and that some of you have got started on it. I don't know if you follow my page, Lark Design Make, but about a few days ago, I posted some updates from the people who've been learning here in the workshop, the same project we've been doing here. And they're amazing. It's the most advanced stitches I've ever seen. So if you want some inspiration, do pop on there and look back about a week and you should hopefully see a bunch of lovely coloured blankets to get you started if you haven't already. And then if you go back into Virtual Village Hall and go back a few weeks, or just type in the search actually like multi-stitch, it'll bring up all 4 videos, this being the 4th. And you can get started on a funky little project. So, and I also turned a smaller version of the blanket into a cushion as well. So there's lots of different uses for the stitches that I've been through. So I know I've taught so far wave and shell and granny and like half treble, treble, double treble. There's definitely a few others I've taught as well. I'm trying to look at this, a Jacob's ladder, bobble, popcorn. So yeah, so today I will switch to the other camera if that's all right. Hands, it seems to be long ways today, so hopefully you'll still be able to see. We're going to try this navy and grey stitch here. So this one here is called the Mosaic Stitch, and again, if you Google that, then you'll find some amazing blankets done with patterns using this stitch, which is actually a lot simpler than it looks. It really, I taught it in person here last week and it blew everyone's mind that they thought it was going to be a real hard one. And then they were really impressed that it was quite simple. It generally looks best done with just 2 colours. So if you're working from your sample in about 12 stitches, you're going to start, it generally doesn't involve switching sides. So you're going to, just put the comments on just in case any of you want to say hi. Yes, hiya. Great, Trisha started, I like that name, a random blanket. That's definitely a good name for them. So yeah, it's generally, unlike all the other stitches where you kind of get to the end of the row and then you come back, you flip it over and then you come back the other way. This one is constantly going to be going from right to left, right to left. So when you start, you need to make sure that this is the front of your blanket. So maybe up until now, oh no, unless you've done the Jacob's ladder. The Jacob's ladder also has a front and a back. So you need to make sure if you've done the Jacob's ladder that it's on this side of your work right now, because this is the side. It doesn't look bad on the back. I can't show you because it's on the cushion, but it is stripy on the back and then it's got the nice little effect on the other side. So whichever of your blanket sides you prefer, that needs to be facing you now. And then what you're going to do is on the right hand side here, you're going to go under one of the V's, the first V on the right hand side. You're going to pick up your yarn from behind and pull it through. So very simple to start a new colour. We're going to be just doing a double crochet, so we just need to chain 1 at that stage there. All right, so that's there. I'm going to weave this in as I go, so I'm just going to keep my orange stitch or my orange tail nice and high above the height of the V's, and that means that when I go into the V's, I'm going to catch it at the same time, and then that means I don't have to go back and weave it in afterwards. So that just means when I go into my V, I just make sure that the orange is also there. And I'm just going to do a double crochet, which is the kind of the easiest and most common of the stitch. And it's just that stitch. I'll talk you through it now on the second one. So I'm just going underneath the V, so no yarn over first. I've got my yarn over at the back. I'm just picking the thread up and then I'm doing 1 yarn over and pulling it through. So again. All right, so you're just starting. It's just a base row, and it's going to be in your first colour. So you should have made 2 colour choices. One will be the lines, or both of them end up doing mosaic actually eventually. So they're both going to do the effect. So this is just going to be the bottom of your mosaic. Hi Irene, good to see that you're there as well. Do let us know if you've been making a blanket or any other crafts. I did a nice craft yesterday with the kids that I'm thinking of suggesting to Virtual Village Hall that I offer here, because it was just so, it really took me by surprise. We made some stamps and it was so simple, just using things that we had here at the studio, and they just looked really effective at the end. They were just, yeah, just really simple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I thought, yeah, I think I've dropped one at the end here. It looks a bit weird, the end of mine. I'm going to cheat a little actually and just sneak one in. I think this has fallen apart a little, my demonstration. So I'm just going to go in there because I want 12. All right. So because we're finishing, so that's one row of double crochet. That's all I've done there. Very simple, nice, easy start to this one. But because I want to end it here, I'm just going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip it off, and then I'm going to thread that end through the loop, and that will finish that off for now. All right. Just to let you know, I haven't actually mentioned what I'm doing this session, so I'm going to be covering this, and then I'm also going to be covering how to border your work. So even if you're not ready to border your work yet, you'll know that this video is available forever. So you can just come back and watch the border video when you're ready. But yeah, it might still be useful to watch now, and it might get you thinking about ways that you can work on your blanket so that it makes the border a little bit easier to add. So I'm about to add my stitch again on the first V on the right hand side, exactly the same as I did before. So just folding the yarn over the hook, pulling it through, and then doing one chain. I'm only going to go into that full V the first time, and that's going to mean that it's nice and secure. But from now on, all the other double crochets that I do along this row, I'm going to put into the back loop. So what it means when it says back loop is this is the front loop of the V, and this is the back loop. So you've got two like kind of small loops. One is the front, one is the back. Basically, we're going to use these front loops on the next row, so we need them to be visible. So you're just going in between the center of the V, picking up this new color thread and doing a double crochet. So the same stitch, it's just that you just do it in the back of the V rather than in both sides of the V. This is quite common. You'll see this on anything that needs to be, if it says it's like a ribbed pattern. So if you maybe make a hat and you just don't want like a flat hat, you want it to look a bit more interesting, a bit of texture, it's often quite common that you go in the back V. So let's go all the way along. Just a few more to do. And then the next row is where the magic happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'm having some real problems at the end of my work today. I don't know what's. I think that I have done 4 days of craft club, so we've had like 12 kids here every single day from 10 till 4. I think that it might not be my work, it might be my brain. So we're just finishing off that row, and then once again exactly the same. It's just passing the cut end through the loop. All right. It's a bit messy, this sample now. So 12 double crochets, but again in the back loop. So you can see it looks a little bit different because these little front loops are visible. Let's start the next one. So we're back to our first colour. So we're just going to go under. I'm just going to find my orange end. Pull that through. And then chain one. Cool. We're going to do 1 double crochet in the first stitch, like so. And again, I'm weaving in those ends as I go. And I'm going to do, it doesn't really matter now how many you do, but let's all do the same, just so it kind of makes sense to us all. So we're all, it looks the same for everyone. So I'm just going to go into the back loop for 2 more stitches. 1 and 2. Okay. Then I'm going to do a mosaic in the next stitch. And I'm just quickly checking my instructions actually, because later on I'll send you these, and I always like to make sure I do the same stitch. Row 3, treble crochet, cool. All right, so in this stitch here, we're going to do a treble crochet. Okay, so treble crochet is where you do yarn over, but we're going to actually not go into where we would have normally been going into here. We're going to go into the stitch that's directly below it. Okay, so the front loop that we left from the previous row, we're going to go there. So where we'd normally go in here, we're going to skip down, and you're going to go enter it from the right. And I always have to use my finger to help, and I'm going to come under it through that side. So I'll just show you that again. So that's where I normally would have gone. There, I'm going to go below it, and I'm looking for the front loop below it. If I want to double check, so I often get a bit paranoid that I've gone too far, but I'm just counting. I've got 3 stitches there. I know I did 1 there and 2 there, so that's correct. 3, 3. This, therefore, is the 4th stitch. So I'm going to go yarn over. I'm going to go into here. I'm going to use my finger, and I'm going to help push it underneath. And then I'm going to do my yarn over and pull that through. Then I'm going to keep it quite low because I don't want that loop to stretch too much. And then I'm going to go yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that makes that little kind of bridge effect that goes over the previous row. So it's kind of a little bit of an illusion, the mosaic stitch. It looks like you've done something really fancy and you've changed colours, but in fact, it's just like a little ladder that you've built over the previous colour. So let me do it again, and then hopefully it'll sink in. The thing that you need to notice is that behind it now, you don't put a stitch in there because you've put your stitch in there. You don't want to put another stitch in the one from behind. Otherwise, you're going to end up with too many in the row. So I'm going to skip that one behind and go into this one. I'm going to do 3 double crochets in the back loops of the row above, and then I'm going to do my next mosaic. Don't worry, I'm going to do a few rows of this, so if that didn't sink in, then hopefully soon it will. So I'm going to do yarn over. I'm not going to go in there. I'm going to do the one that's below it. You'll notice it's slightly to the left. It's kind of just below, but just slightly to the left. And then you're just going to go underneath it on the right and down. Then you're going to do, so the stitch is exactly the same. It's still a treble crochet. It's just the hole that you go into is a totally different place to normal. It's the row below, row number 1. I'm ignoring now the back loop of the one behind it and going into the next one. 1, 2, and 3. So I'm just dividing them by 3 stitches every time to make the spaces between them even. And then I'm going to do another one. So this one, remember I've messed up my own thing here. Remember I had a bit of a problem with my previous row and I just kind of blagged it. I've made it difficult for myself, so I'm going to have to just blag this one a little because it's not visible because I stuck it in the wrong hole. So we're just going to go, I'm just going to go under there. I'm going to pick that up. 1, 2, 3. And that's my first row of mosaic done, and they're sets of 4. So I know that they're 12. There was 3, and that was 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. So I know that I'm back to 12, which is good. So I'm just going to snip off the end. And then I'm just going to pull that end through there and return to my right side. I'm going to go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, here. And remembering for the first one only, you go under the full V, just so it's stable. And then after that, you're just going through the back loops. So I'm just going to go here, put it through the whole V, chain 1, doing 1 double crochet in that stitch. Oh, sorry, went to treble then. So no yarn over, go in, pick up the yarn over, pull through. Let's get rid of this mess. Must be hard for you to understand when I've got this mess on the table. Then again, this time, I don't want to do it in the same place, otherwise I'll cover the previous one. So I'm going to do it in the spot earlier. I could go earlier or later. I'll go later, actually, that'll be fine. So I'm just going to do 4 double crochets this time. Last time I did 3, this time I'm going to do 4. 1, 2, That's my fourth. All right, so my 4 double crochets. So now, rather than putting in the back loop of this one, I'm going to skip down to this blue one here. All right, so the one that's directly below it. So yarn over, going underneath the back loops from the previous row, picking up my thread. This is a treble crochet, so we've done that yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2, remembering to skip the one behind, and then doing 3 in the back loops here. 1, 2, 3. So of course I did 4 last time, because if I had done 1 previously, those are the 3, it would have been by here. So it's a bit silly doing 1 right at the beginning. But what I can do is I can make sure I make up for that on the next row when it's kind of the second stitch. Again, I'll show you that just in case any of you are onto my number counting and wondering what's going on. So 1, 2, 3, and we're at the place again. So yarn over, row below, I think it's that one, come through, pull through 2, pull through 2, and then skipping the one behind, and then doing some double crochets to the end. 1, 2, and this mess at the end, and 3. Again, ooh, excuse me, cutting that off, and I'll go back to orange. So I'll do 1 more row. I'll try and explain what to do when the numbers, when you need to start, when you've kind of overlapped the numbers. I'm trying to think of the words that would help make this make sense. Right, so I'm going to come under, I'm going to pick up my orange. Like I said, I always want to start with a double crochet. You really don't want to make your life difficult and start with a treble. And I'm going to do a double in there, sorry. Double. And then this time I'm going to do, what was it? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm going to do a orange treble now. So I'm going to come under, and I think then that'll make it work out that when I do 3, I'll be in the right position for the next one. So skip from the back. So now I should be able to do 3 doubles. 1, 2, and 3. Yes, worked out. And then now I'm doing my treble. So skipping down to this one here, in, through, and then back to ignoring this one, back to these. 1, 2, 3, then back to this one here, down. So I'm going quite fast now, so sorry if people are trying to catch up. You don't need to, like I said, you can, it's definitely one that you can practice a little, and it should hopefully make sense. So if you were to do another row, all right, you go back to your turquoise, and then this time you'd be dropping off the turquoise line by here, and by here, and by here. And then if you carried on and did another orange line, you could do it a stitch on, and you get this lovely zigzag effect. Like I said, it does look, if you Google it, you'll be amazed by some of the details, the patterns that you can make by following a pattern where it would tell you to do 1 every 10, and then the next row do 1 every 8 and 6. So you make these beautiful diamonds and triangles and all sorts. But obviously we're just doing a very simple kind of Z looking one, backward Z. And like I said, the back, if it's not as ugly as mine, just ends up stripy, but it still looks okay. But definitely it's got a definite front and back. Oh, thank you, Heather. I'm glad you're agreeing that it made sense. I wasn't sure, because it's always hard to know when you're chatting away on here. All right, so with that in mind, that's kind of the main stitches I want to show you. But the thing what I found from teaching this is that it's given people like loads of confidence to go off and try other stitches and like use the books that they've got at home and use some YouTube videos and actually realize that a lot of stitches are just exactly the same. They just go in a slightly different hole and it actually makes a totally different effect. And then you just keep building up your blanket, just go totally random. Every now and then check that you've got a roughly 100 whatever, sorry, however many stitches you've got for your blanket. And in an earlier video, I talked about how to add or decrease if you have accidentally one or lost one stitch. And then when you finished it, you can weave in a little. So there's a few methods. Unfortunately, I don't have a darning needle here with me, but you basically take your ends and you pop a darning needle on and you take them on a little mystery journey. Where possible, try and keep blue amongst blue and orange amongst orange, because you don't want to it to show too much. I'm quite naughty, and you'll see an example here. I don't really trust, and I'm a very lazy darner. So what I do is I often knot two colours together. So where these two are next to each other, I like to just give them a little knot, because I know it'll be covered in a border, and it just makes me feel secure that that's never going to fall apart. All right, so that's my little naughty trick that I do. And then when you're happy that it's knotted and weaved in enough, you can then go round and snip them off so that they're not in the way when you do the border. Oh, another thing to note, if for some reason you've ended up with something that isn't very square, I'm not entirely sure what's going on there, so I'm just going to randomly snip them just so I can show you something. If your thing isn't perfectly square and it's bugging you, what you can do is you can wet it. You can use a water spray. You can use some old kids' foam sheets or yoga mats, and you can or an old corrugated board, just something to then pin it all down, leave it to dry naturally, and it should stretch to the new pinned down shape. So that's called blocking, something that maybe knitters would know. That's quite a common thing to do. Right, I'm going to show you how to border it then. So bordering is quite easy along these edges, the edge you just finished, and then the chain row. All right, because there's quite obvious kind of, not so much in the chain end, but in this end, obviously there's perfect V's all the way along there, so you know that's going to be easy. In this one, there's kind of something that resembles a V. So you're going to know where to put your crochet hook. So I would normally, if it was a blanket, I'd start by here and one corner. I'd give myself a nice easy row, and then I would do a hard row, and then I do an easy row, then I do a hard row. I'll start in the middle just so you don't have to watch me do a whole easy row. But what we're going to do is just like we did for the mosaic, is we're going to choose our border colour, and we can do many borders. We're just going to start with a simple double crochet row. I just find that's a really good way, to just have like some V's all the way around. So just a simple row, bright lights on in your house, because you are going to need to see what you're doing. So you're going to chain one, and then you're just going to go straight back into that hole, and you're going to do a double crochet. Okay, you're going to do another one. Another thing to note, you may want to use for this row quite a neutral colour, something that won't kind of, if your whole blanket's in like mainly pastel shades, then just stick to a nice pastel shade that won't kind of stand out too much, because it's quite easy for it to sometimes look a little bit uneven, especially if you go slightly in the wrong hole. So I would suggest that you choose something that's not going to make a difference. When you get to your corners, what you're going to do is you're going to go in, you're going to do a double crochet, then you're going to do it again, then you're going to do it again. So to make sure that your blanket turns at the corners and make sure it stays flat and you don't have like it kind of stretching because it's trying to deal with one stitch in the corner, you put 3 stitches in the corner at this stage. If you end up doing a huge border, then you may want to add 5 and even more stitches in the corners, but we'll get to that. Then along this row here, it's really hard to kind of give you exact numbers, but basically some of the stitches you've done, like the ones we just did, they were all double crochets. So we know they're all like 1 chain high. So I just need to put 1 stitch in all of those. I know that. Some of these, I can't even remember what some of these stitches were. You can see they're super tall stitches. All right. So I know, I think this was a double treble here, wasn't it? Oh yes, it's a wave. So I need to put 3 or 4 stitches along that length there to make up for the kind of the length of the stitch. So you can look at the stitch and try and remember, or probably just kind of, you'll get an idea fairly quickly of like how many stitches need to go in. What you're trying to find is you're trying to find 2 edges to go into. You don't want to go into that, for instance, because that's got loads going on up there, and all it's going to end up looking like is you've got a big hole in your blanket. You also ideally don't want to just find one edge. Well, that was a bad example because that was actually a cut edge. But one edge is sometimes makes also small holes in your work. So I'm just trying my best to root around, and I'm going to try and find 2 edges that are kind of amongst that stitch there, and I'm just going to do a double crochet with those there. I know this is medium-sized stitch. I want to put 2 or 3 inside here. I think that was that one. What someone did in a previous group, which I thought was a brilliant idea, was she actually used a size 4 crochet hook for this bit. We used chunky, and she'd use a size 6 yarn, but she actually just used, for this lap only, she used a 4, and then she was able to, you know, navigate those holes a little better. So that might be something you want to consider. I'm just trying to find 2. It's like quite hard. Oh. So yeah, this lap is really quite annoying, to be honest. But then once you got past this, you've then got a bunch of lovely V's to go into. Now the reason I do this is it spreads out the stitches. I'll just show you, like if I went in that big hole there, you see what I've done? I've like pulled it out really big, and also the V's, the stitches, are really uneven. Granny squares, someone's just asked, Heather's just asked, you can put them together like this, but you need 2 obviously, so you go into one and then you pick up the other. Maybe I should do a class on that. We're doing a lot of stuff with granny squares at the moment here at the studio. You can either put them together with a darning needle, or you can crochet them together. There's 2 options. But yeah, you would have something else. So you'd have another granny square to join as well. So it's a little bit, not trickier, but yeah, I'm trying to think how to explain it without having stuff in front of me. I just did a little box out of granny squares. It was cute. There you go. But yeah, so yeah, you would be picking up one and then connecting it to the other, so kind of bordering both. So I'm just going along. Oh, and then the other thing, yeah, it's easy to do, is to kind of go too deep. You know, let's just, again, just blank. I'm just going to really over-exaggerate this and go really deep because I want that hole there. And then this looks ugly. So when you've got your shape afterwards, you want them all at a kind of similar distance all the way around. So you're trying to get them at the same sort of depth. So it does get easier. It's horrible at first, but soon you will be flying along the line, and you'll also just chill out on worrying about whether it's you getting the right hole or not. To be honest, I'm trying to do it really well for you. I get 2 edges, but occasionally you won't get 2 edges. It's fine. There you go, 2 edges, but it does make it stronger. It is worth trying to persevere. There you go. Literally using it like a needle. You can see just like pushing it through. 1. So I know there's only 1 for these because these were just double crochets, weren't they? 1, 1. Ooh. I'll get to the end of this row and then I'll tell you a couple more things, and then I'll leave you to enjoy this sunny afternoon and Easter weekend. Ooh. The good thing is when I get to the end of this row, if I get to the end of this row, then I get a lovely row of original stitches. So I'm just going to be flying through that row. So just remembering as well. So when you get to the corner, I need to put 3 stitches in that hole. 1, 2. Oh, I didn't actually get 2 edges, so it's a bit loose, but 3 there. And then I'm back, which is great. So now I'm just whizzing along that edge because I've got my original V's, so I know exactly what I'm doing there. So that's nice. That's a nice little treat. So like I said, I do quite like starting on an easy row, then doing a hard row, doing it easy, and then finishing with a hard. And just then you also get like a rough idea of the sort of sizes that you're looking for. And then you just fly along there. So that's good. And then you just go around and just do your double crochets exactly the same as that side all along there. So then when you've got your double crochet row, then it's up to you then. So you can then bring in a new colour. I'll just go back to where I started. bring in a new colour. So again, going under both the V's for this to make sure they're nice and secure. And you could do some granny stripes, for instance. So you could chain 3. Oh, thanks, Heather. Yeah, I couldn't get the words out. So you could do some nice big grannies. I'll do big treble ones. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Skip 2, 1, 2. Like that. So I've got those V's to go into now, all the way around, so I can get as creative as I want to my border. I'll just show you how this would look. 1, 2. Again, considering on the corners, whenever you land on them, you're going to have to just freestyle a bit and just make sure that you add some extra stitches. So I'm going to make extra big grannies in the corners to make up. So I put 3 there, so I'm going to put an extra 1 there. And then rather than skip 2, I'm just going to skip 1. And then I'm going to also put an extra 1 in that corner there. So I know overall in that corner, I've added those extra 3 stitches. I added 1 to one granny, 1 to the next granny, and I didn't skip 2, I skipped 1. So just, you sometimes have got to blag it a bit. The shell looks really nice on the edges. I'm trying to think what I did on mine. Any of the stitches look nice. So you can just do whatever your favourite one is and go round several times. So I'll just quickly just do that so you can see. So there you go. So when you went back round, you could then go do your grannies into those holes, and then you would have quite quickly a much bigger blanket because the granny squares grow so quickly. So you just connect by here, maybe put 3 trebles in there, 3 trebles in there. Again, maybe put a couple of extra in the corner to make up for the kind of turning the corner, 3 trebles in there. But again, all the stitches, apart from maybe this one, the wave, but I've seen all sorts. There's someone recently did a lovely mosaic border. They did loads of rows and had a huge mosaic border. So whichever stitch really you've enjoyed the most, you can then do again and recreate all on the outside. It does look good with the border. I do think you definitely need at the minimum this, but ideally also something extra on the edge. And that also just hides the fact that this is sometimes a little bit wobbly. You can kind of, change people from looking at it, and they can look at your border instead. Oh, great. Tricia says that, yeah, she's learning a continuous flat braid for joining. There you go, found on YouTube. Yeah, there's some, honestly, once you find some people on YouTube that you like the style of their videos, you'll be well away. Like I said, I watch a lot of Bella Coco videos. I think hers are really good. And yeah, she does have a few ads, but once you get used to that, you can kind of learn quite a lot quite quickly. So yeah, have a little look for someone you like. And then I don't know if I've ever mentioned on this, but something that I didn't know till recently, that in the settings on YouTube in the bottom right hand corner, you can change the playback speed. So you can change it so it's at half the speed or quarter of the speed, whatever you need, so that you can literally watch their hands really closely and you'll be able to see exactly what they're doing. And that's been a game changer as far as learning crochet. So do give that thing a go. Cool. I can tell that I'm losing my words now. It's like I said, talking to kids all day. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'll thank you. And I do really hope that in a few weeks' time we get some nice pictures of some blankets. It is like something that I think you'll enjoy for a long time. And I think I even said last week that someone had said on social media that it's their they've made like 3 or 4 of these blankets because they really like that they're really easy to pick up. And you can just kind of, you think, tonight I really want to watch this TV show. It's like really important. So you just do some super simple stitches that night. And then the day after, when you're watching Love Island or something, feeling a bit bad about it, that you don't really want to watch it, you can focus on a difficult stitch because you don't really want to see what's happening on the telly, but you kind of want to know. Cool. Let's have a little look. So so thanks from the Virtual Village Hall again. So I'll keep sending some ideas through. Maybe granny squares is a good idea. And thanks, Alison and Tricia, for saying thanks. I hope you all have a wonderful Easter, and I will see you soon for some more craft. All right. Take care. Bye. I'll post the instructions in a minute.